Ladies, let's talk about something that's been drilled into us since we were little girls. Be nice. Smile, agree. Make him feel comfortable. Don't ruffle feathers. And you know what? Being nice isn't the problem. The problem is when being nice becomes your default setting, even when it costs you your standards, your boundaries, and your dignity. When you're constantly available, constantly accommodating, constantly trying to win someone over, you're not gaining respect, you're erasing yourself. Respect isn't built from giving endless yeses. It's built from having the courage to say no. It's built from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and refusing to trade that for crumbs of attention. So here's the truth. If you want a man to respect you, stop trying to be the perfectly nice woman in his eyes. Instead, be the woman who has self-respect baked into every interaction. The woman who doesn't need approval to feel worthy. The woman who knows that her time, her energy, and her love are precious currencies, and she invests them wisely. There's a dangerous myth. Many women have been sold, if I'm nice enough, he'll value me. We've been conditioned to think that politeness, sweetness, and constant agreeableness will naturally lead to deeper appreciation. But here's the truth most people don't tell you. Being nice can make you liked, but it doesn't guarantee you'll be respected. Liking is about comfort. Respect is about admiration. And those two aren't the same thing. When you're always nice, you become predictable. Predictable isn't bad in friendships, but in dating and relationships, it can breed complacency. If he knows you'll always forgive, always adapt, and always make things easy for him, he has no reason to rise to meet your standards. You've taught him that your boundaries are negotiable. And once someone learns that, they stop seeing you as an equal. Think about the men who are respected by other men. They're not the ones saying yes to everything or avoiding conflict at all costs. They're the ones who hold their ground when it matters. The same rule applies to women. When you never speak up, when you never say, that's not okay, you unintentionally communicate that your comfort, needs, and values are secondary to his. Being nice all the time can actually blur your identity. It can make you invisible in the relationship because you're always bending to fit someone else's preferences. Over time, he doesn't see you. He sees a version of you that's shaped entirely around keeping him happy. And here's the dangerous part. The more you disappear behind niceness, the easier it becomes for him to take you for granted. The irony is that many winning women double down on niceness when they feel unappreciated, thinking that if they're just a little sweeter, a little more patient, he'll finally give them the respect they crave. But in reality, this only reinforces the cycle. You're giving him more comfort without demanding any accountability. And accountability is the breeding ground for respect. You can still be a kind, compassionate person without being endlessly nice in a way that erases you. Kindness comes from strength. It's a choice. Niceness, when it's compulsive, comes from fear, and fear-based behavior never earns lasting respect. Let's be clear. Boundaries are not walls. They're gates. They don't lock people out. They decide who gets in and how far they can go. And when you have strong, healthy boundaries, you don't just protect your self-respect. You actually become more attractive. Why? Because people value what has limits. Scarcity creates value, and boundaries create scarcity for your time, attention, and emotional energy. Think about it. If every man can access your time instantly, text you at any hour, cancel plans without consequence, and still have you waiting for him the next day, he learns there's no urgency to respect you. Your time is abundant to him. But the moment you start saying, I can't tonight, I have plans, or that doesn't work for me, you introduce a new element, respect for your schedule and your life. He realizes you're not just sitting around waiting for his call. You have a life that doesn't revolve around him. Boundaries are like the rules of a game. They make it more engaging. A man respects the woman who says, I'm not okay with that, far more than the one who says, it's fine, even when it's clearly not. You're signaling that your needs matter, that you have standards for how you want to be treated. and that you're not afraid to walk away from situations that don't meet them. That kind of clarity doesn't push away the right man. It draws him closer because it challenges him to meet your level. The mistake many women make is confusing boundaries with rejection. They fear that saying no will drive a man away. But here's the truth. The right man will lean in when you have boundaries because it shows you're selective, and being selective means you see yourself as valuable. The only men who get scared off by boundaries are the ones who are never going to respect them in the first place. When you lack boundaries, you send a silent message. I'll accept whatever I'm given. And people, men included, will test those limits not always out of malice, but simply because human nature pushes to see where the line is. If you never draw that line, it's assumed there isn't one. That's when respect starts to erode, and once it's gone, it's nearly impossible to get back. Boundaries aren't about being cold, distant, or difficult. They're about knowing your worth and making sure your behavior reflects it. They create a sense of earned access. And anything earned is automatically valued more. If you want him to see you as someone worth cherishing, your boundaries need to be visible, consistent, and unapologetic. And when you do that, something powerful happens. You stop chasing their validation, and they start chasing your respect. One of the fastest ways to lose your power in any relationship is to make approval your mission. When your choices, words, and even your personality start revolving around, will he like this? You stop living authentically. You become a performer in your own life, tailoring every move to please someone else. And here's the kicker. Men can sense it. They can tell when you're bending to fit their preferences instead of standing firm in your own truth. Chasing approval often comes from a deep-rooted fear of rejection. You think, if I just agree with him, if I just go along with what he wants, he won't leave. But approval-driven behavior has the opposite effect. It makes you blend into the background. It strips you of the spark that makes you magnetic in the first place, your individuality. Men don't fall for perfect compliance. They fall for women who bring their own energy, opinions, and perspective to the table. When approval is your goal, you start playing it safe. You avoid voicing your real opinions. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You pretend to be okay with situations that make you uncomfortable. And while you might think this keeps the peace, what it really does is create a silent resentment inside you. Over time, that resentment either makes you bitter or causes the connection to quietly fall apart because you can only fake it for so long. The most respected and desired women aren't the ones who constantly try to be agreeable. They're the ones who aren't afraid to ruffle feathers when something matters to them. They speak up when they disagree. They walk away from situations that don't align with their values. And because their self-worth isn't tied to winning approval, they approach dating from a place of strength, not fear. You have to remember, approval is cheap. People give it out for convenience, politeness, or habit. Respect is earned. When you prioritize respect over approval, you naturally start making decisions that serve you, not just the other person. And that shift is magnetic because it says, I'm not here to audition for a role in your life. I'm here to see if you fit into mine. Once you stop chasing approval, you free yourself from the exhausting game of constant performance. You stop editing your personality for someone else's comfort, and you start living in a way that feels real to you, which is exactly the energy that makes the right man sit up and take notice. Sweetness is beautiful. It's warm, inviting, and can make people feel comfortable around you. But without self-respect, sweetness can quickly turn into self-sacrifice. And once you start sacrificing your needs, comfort, and dignity just to keep the peace or please someone else, you're not being kind. You're being erased. Real kindness doesn't mean losing yourself in the process. The problem is that many women confuse being liked with being respected. They think, if I'm always sweet and easygoing, he'll see how good I am and appreciate me. But men don't respect sweetness when it comes at the cost of strength. They respect women who can be warm, but who also draw a firm line when something crosses their boundaries. Without that balance, Your sweetness stops being a gift and starts being a weakness in his eyes. Self-respect means you know your worth and you protect it no matter how much you like someone. It's saying, I can be compassionate, but I won't allow myself to be mistreated. It's turning down plans when someone consistently disrespects your time. It's refusing to entertain someone who keeps showing you they're not serious. And it's doing all this without guilt, because you understand that honoring yourself is non-negotiable. Sweetness without self-respect sends a silent message. I'll accept whatever you give me. That might make a man comfortable, but it won't make him value you. In fact, it often has the opposite effect. He'll assume he can put in less effort because you've already shown you'll stay no matter what. And once effort drops, attraction and respect start slipping away too. You can think of self-respect like the foundation of a house. Sweetness is the beautiful decor, the cozy furniture, the inviting scent of fresh flowers. But without the foundation, without the unshakable base, everything collapses. A woman who pairs genuine warmth with unshakable self-respect is unstoppable, because she's both approachable and untouchable in the best way. When you put self-respect above sweetness, you shift the dynamic completely. You no longer give in just to avoid conflict or discomfort. You stop trying to be the perfect woman in someone else's eyes and start being the real woman you are. And that's when men sit up, take notice, and realize you're not like the rest. You're someone who's kind by choice, not by fear. One of the biggest mistakes women make is waiting too long to express what they really want, hoping that once he gets to know me, he'll naturally align with their standards. But here's the reality. If you don't speak your standards early, you risk building a connection on false assumptions. Men can't meet standards they don't know exist, and by the time you reveal them, it might be too late to reset the dynamic. Speaking your standards early isn't about issuing demands or ultimatums. It's about clearly communicating your values and expectations without apology. When you say, I'm looking for a relationship where consistency matters, or I value honesty above everything, you're not scaring away the right man. You're simply filtering out the ones who have no intention of meeting those standards. That's not losing. It's saving time and energy. The fear many women have is that being upfront will make them look high maintenance or too much. But think about it. Would you rather be upfront and attract the men who are aligned with your needs, or hide your standards and waste months on someone who was never going to meet them? Clarity is kindness, not just to yourself, but to the other person. It prevents misunderstandings and stops you from quietly resenting someone for breaking rules they didn't know were there. When you speak your standards early, you also set the tone for respect. It tells a man, this is who I am, this is what I need, and I'm confident enough to say it out loud. That kind of self-assuredness is deeply attractive because it shows you're not afraid of rejection. You'd rather lose someone than lose yourself. And that is the exact mindset that earns lasting respect. It's also important to remember that standards aren't rigid scripts, they're guiding principles. They can evolve as you grow, but their core doesn't change. If you value kindness, loyalty, and effort, those remain non-negotiable, no matter how charming or attractive someone is. Speaking them early ensures that anyone who enters your life understands the baseline they must meet to stay there. And here's the secret: men who are serious about you will appreciate knowing your standards from the start. They'll see it as a sign that you respect yourself, and it will inspire them to rise to the occasion. The only ones who get uncomfortable are the ones who planned on giving you less than you deserve. There's a big difference between being warm and being a doormat. Warmth is magnetic. It draws people in, makes them feel seen, and creates a safe space for connection. A doormat, on the other hand, is someone who absorbs everyone's demands, excuses, and bad behavior without pushing back. The two might look similar on the surface because both appear nice, but their energy and outcome couldn't be more different. Being warm means you're open, approachable, and capable of empathy. But it also means you have a backbone. You can listen to someone's problems without making them your responsibility. You can show kindness without making yourself endlessly available. And you can care deeply without letting someone treat you poorly. True warmth has boundaries baked into it. It's not unconditional access. The trap many women fall into is believing that endless giving will make someone value them more. They become the emotional safety net, the therapist, the rescuer. And while this might make a man comfortable in the short term, it rarely inspires respect in the long run. Instead, it creates an imbalance where he's used to taking without ever having to give at the same level. That's not connection. That's one-sided emotional labor. When you're warm but not a doormat, you keep your empathy intact, but you protect your emotional energy fiercely. You can say, I care about you, but I can't be a 24/7 support system. Or, I understand you're going through something, but it's not okay to take it out on me. This shows that your kindness is a gift, not an obligation, and gifts are valued when they're not abused. It's also worth noting that being warm without boundaries can make you a magnet for people who take advantage. Some will mistake your patience for permission, your silence for acceptance, and your giving nature for an endless supply. If you don't step in and set the tone early, you'll find yourself drained, resentful, and wondering why no one gives you the same level of care you give them. The sweet spot is this: stay warm enough to attract good energy, but strong enough to repel bad behavior. That's when your presence feels inviting yet valuable. People will see you as someone they can trust, but also someone they must treat with care because you respect yourself too much to be walked on. Agreeing with everything a man says might feel like the safe way to keep things smooth, but it's not the way to earn respect or keep his interest. If you nod along to every opinion, laugh at every joke, and avoid speaking up when you disagree, you're not showing him the real you. You're showing him a curated version of yourself designed for his comfort. And comfort without challenge eventually turns into boredom. Challenging someone doesn't mean picking fights or being argumentative for the sake of it. It means being confident enough to voice your perspective, even if it's different from his. When you say, I see it differently, or I don't agree with that, you're signaling that you think for yourself. That independent thinking is attractive because it creates dynamic conversations and shows that you bring your own mind to the relationship. When you never challenge him, you also miss the chance to build genuine connection. Real connection isn't built on perfect agreement. It's built on understanding each other's differences and learning from them. If you're always mirroring his opinions, there's nothing for him to explore or be curious about. The relationship becomes an echo chamber, and echo chambers don't inspire depth. The fear of challenging often comes from wanting to be low drama or easygoing. But here's the truth. Men respect women who have a backbone far more than women who simply go along with whatever's said. A man who values depth will see your willingness to challenge him as a sign of strength, not conflict. And if he reacts negatively to healthy disagreement, that's a sign he's not emotionally mature enough for a real partnership. You can challenge with grace. You can disagree with a smile, with curiosity, and with humor. It's not about trying to win an argument. It's about showing that your voice matters in the exchange. And when your voice matters to you, it will start to matter to him. This is how respect grows. It's born from seeing each other as equals, not one person leading and the other blindly following. A woman who can be warm and challenging is magnetic. She makes him think. She keeps him on his toes. And most importantly, she sets the tone for a relationship where both voices are valued equally. That's the kind of energy that makes respect not just possible, but inevitable. Here's key point. It's human nature. When something is rare, we value it more. That's not about playing games. It's about understanding that your time, energy, and presence are precious resources. If you're always available at the drop of a hat, always ready to rearrange your life for him, you unintentionally send the message that your time isn't worth much. And people, consciously or not, tend to treat abundant resources with less care. Scarcity doesn't mean you're hard to reach just to look cool. It means you have a life that's full, rich, and not centered on someone else's schedule. It means you prioritize your own goals, friendships, and passion. So when you do give your time to someone, it's intentional. That intentionality makes your presence more meaningful because it's not guaranteed, it's earned. When you're too available, a man can start to take you for granted without even realizing it. He knows you'll say yes. He knows you'll be there. And when something is certain, it stops feeling exciting. On the flip side, when you have boundaries around your availability, you create anticipation. He starts to look forward to seeing you because it's not a given, it's special. Scarcity also forces him to invest more. If he knows your time is valuable, he'll plan ahead, put in more effort, and treat your presence as a privilege, not an entitlement. And that's exactly how it should be. Because you are not an on-call service. You are a whole human being with your own priorities. Some women fear that creating scarcity will push a man away. The truth is, it will push away the ones who only wanted easy access without effort. The men who are serious about you will lean in because they recognize that what they have to work for, they value more. This isn't about withholding affection. It's about making sure affection is shared with someone who respects its worth. When you master the art of scarcity, you don't lose connection, you deepen it. You create space for him to miss you, to think about you, to realize the quality you bring to his life. And that space is what transforms casual interest into genuine respect and lasting desire. Your time is valuable, but your energy, that's priceless. You only have so much emotional, mental, and physical energy to give in a day. And how you spend it determines the quality of your life and relationships. When you pour that energy into men who give you little in return, you're making a bad investment. Just like you wouldn't keep putting money into a business that's failing, you shouldn't keep pouring yourself into someone who's not showing up for you. Energy is a form of currency because it has real value. When you give someone your attention, your care, and your emotional presence, you're giving them something that can't be replaced or refunded. If you invest it wisely, you'll see a return in the form of mutual respect, effort, and connection. If you invest it recklessly, you end up drained, resentful, and wondering why you feel so depleted. The problem many women face is overinvesting early, putting in consistent energy before a man has earned it. You initiate all the conversations, plan all the dates, give endless encouragement, and accommodate his schedule. At first, it feels like you're just showing interest, but in reality, you're setting a pattern where he gets to do less because you're already doing more. And patterns like that are hard to break. Matching energy is the key. If he's making minimal effort, you scale back, not as punishment, but as balance. You don't chase, you pace. This creates a dynamic where your investment matches his, and it forces him to step up if he wants more from you. It also protects your emotional well-being because you're not constantly giving from an empty tank. When you treat your energy like currency, you stop giving it out just because someone asks for it. You start looking at the return on your investment. How does this person make you feel? Do they pour back into you? Do they make your life better, lighter, richer? If the answer is no, you pull back, not because you're cold, but because you understand that your energy is too valuable to be wasted. A woman who guards her energy commands respect. She moves with intention, gives to those who give back, and knows that overextending herself is not love, it's self-neglect. And when a man sees that you won't overinvest in him without reciprocity, he realizes that your time and attention are privileges, not guarantees. Loving yourself isn't just a quiet, because internal feeling. It's an outward expression in how you speak, how you carry yourself, and the choices you make. When you love yourself loudly, you send a clear message to the world. I know my worth and I will not negotiate it. That energy doesn't just attract people. It filters them because only those who respect that self-love will want to stay. Loving yourself loudly means setting the tone in every interaction. You don't wait for someone to validate your beauty, intelligence, or value. You validate it yourself. You don't shrink to make others comfortable or dim your achievements to avoid intimidating someone. You stand in your light without apology, and the people who belong in your life won't ask you to turn it down. It also means prioritizing your own joy without guilt. You book the trip. You take yourself to dinner. You invest in your goals. You don't postpone your life waiting for a man to join the picture. When you love yourself loudly, you're not seeking someone to complete you. You're living fully and inviting someone to share in a life that's already rich and fulfilling. Loud self-love also shows up in how you handle disrespect. You don't let things slide just to keep the peace. You don't entertain half-hearted effort or excuses. You don't beg for attention that should be freely given. A woman who truly loves herself understands that walking away from the wrong person is never a loss. It's an act of self-preservation. And here's the powerful part. When you embody loud self-love, you inspire others to treat you at the level you treat yourself. You set the bar. You create the standard. Men will either rise to meet it or quietly step aside. Either way, you win because you never stop being the source of your own happiness. Loving yourself loudly isn't arrogance. It's alignment. It's living in a way that matches your values, your worth, and your vision for your life. It's showing the world and yourself that you will never settle for less than what you deserve. And that kind of energy, it's impossible to ignore.